Are you obsessed?
Every fucking time. Yep. Yep. That's how it goes. Good afternoon. My name's Amanda. This is the Tequila Hour. It is 3:43 p.m. Sunday, the 12th of May. Yes, I had to check. The 12th of May, 2024, at the Forge in the secret location in New South Wales. I don't know why I'm talking like that.
Why am I talking like that?
I don't know. Yes. Look, if you haven't figured out, I'm going to talk about obsession. Am I obsessed with myself? This is the question we will ponder throughout this podcast today. You know what I am obsessed about? I am, as I touch it, I am obsessed with my Rode Procaster 2, and I am also, I know I'm laughing again, I'm also obsessed with the new pink windshield that I have on my microphone. And you have no idea. It's magic. No idea what I'm talking about. I'll take a picture so you know what I'm talking about. But I will have to wait and see what the audio sounds like. But it's pink and I'm loving it. Well, so we'll see what happens. Anyway, let's get into the topic of today. I don't know what I'm saying. How are you? Before we get into it, Before we get into it, let's do a little bit of admin, okay? Sounds like, what? Yay! No, it's not yay. Quick drink break. Drink break. No, it's not yay. It could be yay. Look, it's been, let's do a quick life admin break and then get into the subject of today. I want to go over my week. It was short in the sense of I worked and then I had several days off. I didn't work Wednesday, Thursday and Friday of this week. I actually had a rest. I had a rest. I needed a break. And on that subject quite quickly, yeah, if you need a fucking break, have a break, okay? So I did that. I went out on Saturday, which was the day yesterday, had a 90-minute relaxation massage. Mate. 5-star day spa. I'll actually link them in the description of this podcast. So relaxed. Feel so much better. Have really, and I know I harp on this. How many times do I harp on this about self-management, self-care, checking in on oneself, looking after yourself, blah, blah, blah. You'd be like, shut up. No, I will not shut up. Mental health is important. If you need a break and you're not, look, I wasn't not coping, but I knew I needed a break. So I had one. feel much better for it, how to relax, how to rest. I think I touched on this in my last podcast that I was tired. I know I was tired, and I honestly think that I needed to let my body have a rest after having COVID for the second time. And I'm glad I did, actually, because today I sit here refreshed. I have some makeup on my face, which I can add in the description as well. Mate, I'm rocking it. I'm feeling it. So there's that. I also, what else can I touch on? Not much more to discuss apart from I worked, I had some days off, went and had a massage, and we sit here today. And I actually want to talk about obsession, and I don't know why this particular topic came to mind. I don't know, really. There's a couple of videos where there was one particular YouTube video, and I'll link it in the description, where they talked about, I think the title of the new book is Unstressable or Stressable. If I'm butchering this, fuck you. And I just, for some reason, because self-development is something that I think I have talked about this non-stop probably. It's very important to me. And for some reason I'm like, why are we still talking about this shit? I mean, I didn't think that. Actually, I know. I don't know what I'm saying. I, in the first instance, thought that I needed to do a podcast on obsession and what that means, and B, in light of, and we can touch on many things this afternoon, by the way, when we talk about obsession. For some reason, I'm thinking about personal obsession. I'm thinking about our lives right now for everybody in the entire universe. I'm thinking on Earth, by the way. I'm not talking about the aliens. And I'm also talking about self. About self. I'm talking about sexual obsession. I'm talking about, oh, that's my phone. Give me 1 second. And I'm back. I actually started listening to what I actually recorded, and then I got distracted by Instagram, and now I'm back. Anyway, I want to talk about the subject of obsession. And like I mentioned, I was watching a YouTube from Diary of the CEO, and I will link it so you know what I'm talking about. And I just had a thought. I'm like, are we literally obsessed so much with ourselves that we just can't, I don't know, see the truth? So I wanted to touch on obsession. And if you've been living under a rock or have no idea, what is the meaning of, I don't know, I'm into it, okay? Grab a drink, grab a snack, get into it, relax, and listen to the Celtic tones of my voice. Anyway, obsession. What is the meaning of obsession according to the definition from the Oxford Language Dictionary? Obsession is, noun, the state of being obsessed with someone or something. For example, she cared for him with a devotion bordering on obsession. An idea or thought that continually preoccupies or intrudes on a person's mind. So an example is plural noun, obsessions. He was in the grip of an obsession. He was powerless to resist. Now, I'm going to be straight up because I'm that kind of girl. I did do a little bit of AI wasn't even deep diving. It was very basic. Chat GPT 3.5 version about the topic of obsession. And I can relay that to you. But to be honest, I just want to talk about it. So in the podcast that I watched, and I probably should do a quick, let's Google it. Diary of a CEO. I'm doing this right now. No, I'm not prepared. Diary of a CEO. Okay. What I just literally watched not that too many days ago. Let me see if I can find it for you. The title, that is, by the way. Not that easy, apparently. Here we go.
There are only three.
Stop it. Wait. Don't want to get bloody banned or shit. Gawdat. I think it's Gawdat. Gawdat is the title. A warning about stress and anxiety. The title, because it changes, and if you know, you know, this is causing 70% of heart attacks in young people. Diary of a CEO. This was released 2 weeks ago. He talked about his book that he's releasing, which may have come out by now. It's called Unstressable. And I touched on this a second ago because I really look. If you haven't worked out, I've had a few drinks, all right? I will touch on that subject in a second. Unstressable. I want to talk about obsession because after watching this video and him talking about his new book and talking about, which we all know, we're all fucking stressed out of our fucking minds. Not that we're not coping, but a lot of people aren't. And I could say to you right now, if I was to sit here and think about people in my life who are stressed and not coping, there's a couple of people who come to mind. I won't name them, but I want to talk about this subject in particular because, I don't know, is it that thinking about self-development, thinking about, because these are subjects that what am I trying to get at? These are subjects that are on my mind at the moment. I have touched on self-development and for myself personally where I am, I don't know, is it that I'm seeking the truth? Is it that I'm trying to work out my own shit? Is it trying to work out some of the shit that seems to be lingering in my life? That's probably more accurate. So when I say to you obsession, I would say to you that are we just too absorbed and obsessed in our own bullshit? And, my husband's just come home. Let me just pause this for a second because he'd probably want to say hello. Give me a second. Bye. And I'm back. This, may I say, is the choppiest podcast I've done in quite some time. Anyway, let's get back into the topic of discussion today, which is obsession. Yeah, so like I said, after watching this video, something that came to mind for me was, are we just totally absorbed in our own obsession with ourselves? In reference to self-development, in reference to, I don't know, manifestation, in reference to being better, in regards to what we want, in regards to manifestation and all of that and all of the above. And why I say this is because more and more, when I think about these particular topics, yes, they That was a car, by the way, in the background, if you could hear that noise. I am very intrigued and interested and absorbed in self-development and what that looks like and reading books, etc. I am finding, though, and this could be where this is me on a personal note just questioning that a lot of self-help or self-development ideals are based on gratefulness, okay? And just come with me on a journey. Gratefulness. When I say to you that we want to manifest the life that we want, okay? We want to manifest what we have always dreamed of, okay? May it be a Porsche. May it be going to Japan. May it be that role at your work that you've always wanted. May it be the boyfriend you never had. May it be the child that you long for. There's this whole, I don't want to say movement, but I'm going to say it. There's this whole movement around this ideal of do A and you'll get to B. But you need to include C, and C is being grateful. I'm going to be bold and say, is grateful the default for saying that no, we think we're that powerful, that absorbed with ourselves, that needy, that if we use a bit of column A, which is gratefulness, it circumnavigates column A or B, which is what our true desires are. And I find that as I continue along a journey of self-development and learning about myself and what I want out of life and how I want to achieve the things that I want to achieve, a lot of these subjects intertwine when we talk about, I don't know, what's a book that I recently read? I'll link it in the description, where it talks about energy, okay? Quantum entanglement. It talks about, the thoughts that you put out there, the energy that you put out there with gratefulness, with a loving heart, with a positive attitude, and all of the above. There's many ideals, could I say theories, around this particular subject about, manifesting the life or creating the life that you want. I mean, there's people that I can think right off the top of my head. I'm thinking about Mel Robbins. I'm thinking about Jay Shetty. I'm thinking about I can't think of his name. Is it Dr. Joe? Look, I'll link it. What I'm trying to say to you, there's a lot, and there's another lady that comes to mind, and I watched her podcast, and she did a podcast with Mel Robbins, and I'll link that as well. A lot of the ideals, they're talking about the same thing, and they seem to circumnavigate their want and their need and desire for adding this sounds terrible, the hashtag of gratefulness. Can we just be as bold to say that, guess what, I want a fucking Porsche because I deserve it? But yet, hear me out. When I say to you that am I obsessed about getting a Porsche? No, I'd really like one. I wouldn't say obsession. There is things I will touch on about obsession, but when I say to you that I want something, which you could, we can travel down the garden path of obsession tendencies, that somehow if I'm grateful and with an open heart, that seems to just negate the fact that I just really want something and I'll just get what I want because I think I deserve it. And really that comes down to self-obsession, in my opinion. This is things that, I don't know, am I reading too much into this? I could be. I could be reading too much into it because I have a tendency to do that. But when I say to you that a lot of these people who influence a lot of these things that, and I mean, these people have millions of followers, okay? And I also follow these people, all right? I follow Mel Robbins. I follow Diary of a CEO. We can talk about him another day. Similar, but not the same. We can talk about Jay Shetty. We can talk about Trent Shelton. Similar, but not the same. A lot of these people, they have an ideal, okay? They're promoting an ideal. They're promoting an ideal that works for them. They're sharing that ideal because they want to not only better themselves, but they want to better people in general with a whole heart. And I believe they do that with a whole heart. But may I call out the fact that saying that you're grateful for something and adding gratefulness or mindfulness into your vocabulary to then counter navigate what you really want, which is, I don't know, a Porsche, as an example, does that really align? Does it? Does it really align? Because I would say to you that's obsession. And I would also say to you, when I was thinking about Diary of a CEO and the podcast I watched on YouTube with Mo Gawdat, and I apologise sincerely if I'm saying that incorrectly to Mo, where he talked about his new book, Unstressable. This could be me just being, I don't know, not questionable, but the word, I've lost the word. Cynical is the word I'm looking for. That Mo wrote a book, okay? He wants people to read his book because he has an idea, an ideal that he wants to share with the world. I'm not saying his idea or ideal isn't warranted. What I'm saying is that we all should be aware that when Mo, as an example, and I'm using him as an example, okay, I'm not trying to blast Mo. He does a podcast with Diary of a CEO. He's selling his book, okay? No two ways about it. He is selling his book that he's just written and he's releasing or is about to release. Let's cut the bullshit, okay? Can we just cut the bullshit? I'm not saying that his ideals aren't legitimate or something that could help you or could help me. What I'm saying is that it's not about taking things with a grain of salt, that we need to look at the whole picture. We need to, in my opinion, stop being so obsessed with this self-motivation, self-help movement. And I'm saying it actually to myself because I know from personal experience where I can easily succumb to this rhetoric from these people, these type of people. And I know that these people are on a level being sincere. I actually believe they are being sincere with an open heart. But to say, as a sweeping statement, if you use gratefulness or mindfulness, you will achieve the things that you want to achieve, I call bullshit. I would say to you that it's self-obsession and self-need and self-want that will then, at its basis, drive you to achieve the things that you want. And that's where, when I'm talking about obsession, I think that's what I'm trying to get at today. I mean, when I talk about obsession and I talked about the meaning of obsession, there's a couple of things that immediately, like, if I was to say, like, light bulbs or switches or dings that come into my mind when I think about these things. I'm thinking about obsession. I'm thinking about relationships. I think about men obsessed about women. I think about men being obsessed with women and sexuality and sex and body image and all that. I think about sex and obsession. I think about OCD. And I think about self-help and self-improvement. And I really wanted to touch on this subject as well because I did note in my last podcast, and I'm just going to quickly pause for a second. Honestly, I need to stop pausing. I need to stop right now. Yeah, I just wanted to touch on this because, it was quite, not strange is the wrong word, but when I was watching this and I watching the Gawdat or Gawdat, I think it's Gawdat, podcast with Steve Bartlett, Diary of a CEO, I was thinking to myself, when we talk about stress, and we can talk about that in depth and literally on a whole entire podcast about stress in reference to life as we know it right now. For me, for someone who is really probably for the last, let me look at my, and I'm going to look at my calendar, to be honest. I'm going to look at we're at May, okay. If I was to say to you for the last year plus, I really have gone within personally, and there's a lot of things that I've challenged myself, how I mentally, how I mentally counteract, that's not the word, how I think about things, how I process, thank you, how I mentally process things. And I've really challenged and created a different pathway because the pathway or pathways that I was on were not self-serving. Who's that? Sorry. I'm here and there's someone walking past my house and it's dark. Anyway, because it's now 5:14 p.m. in New South Wales, a secret location. It's dark outside. Anywho, I realised the pathways or some of the pathways that I was, strolling down and I thought were beneficial for me, weren't beneficial for me. Honestly, were creating more stress, more confusion, more anxiety in my life. And I really had to stop and take notice and put my big girl pants on and really think about some of the shit that I was, thinking about and letting myself, follow and understand and agree and process and just include in my life in its entirety. And it's been a lot. There has been times where I've had to really just have a fucking break because it's like I'm mentally challenging and changing synapses in my brain that normally would go down one route. And I'm saying that another route, as in instead of going down, route A, I'm going down route B, and these are new and different and completely different to what I've done in the past at 51 years of age, completely changing a thought process. They take time. Anyone who knows any of this shit would know it takes time, and it's hard and it's tiring and it's challenging. Yet I'm up for it. I'm up for it because there's certain things that I clearly acknowledge as a person weren't working. A lot of those things for me was around my work and the people I work with and how I deal with certain situations. It is something that probably I will work on for quite some time, to be honest, because there is deep-seated thoughts of processes that I have acknowledged that do not work for me. There's that. And I would say to you that after watching this podcast and thinking about obsession, why are we so obsessed with shit? Okay, why? Why are we so obsessed with it? For me, like I just touched on some subjects. I touched on OCD behaviours. And I have done a podcast before where I've talked about my own, I would say tendencies. I wouldn't say behaviours. I wouldn't say, and I've said this, I don't have OCD disorder, but I do clearly have OCD tendencies, obsessive compulsive tendencies, when I am under a certain level of stress or when there is stress that my mind and body are trying to calculate and cannot. And therefore, I will go to certain tendencies, air brackets, to try and alleviate the feeling of anxiety that I have in my mind and body. I touched on that. I wouldn't say that I have OCD disorder. I know I don't. That is a discussion that I've had with several psychologists in the past. But I know I do have tendencies, and for me, it is good to be aware. It's not good, it's fucking awesome to be aware of this, because if there's certain tendencies that I'm suddenly increasing, I know that there is a level of anxiety that I'm not dealing with. So that's a fantastic marker for knowing that I need to stop, slow down, fucking relax, and get some help. So there's that. When I talk about obsession, like I said, there's a couple of subjects that came to mind, OCD being one of them, sex as being another. And for some reason, it's not about, let's just cut to the chase. I'm not saying I'm obsessed by sex. Probably not at all, actually. I am, at one time, I was obsessed by certain people. It could be because, I was at a certain age and just obsessed, and I will talk about it in a second. When I was a teenager and unrequited, is it unrequited? Is that the word? Where you basically, you're absolutely obsessed with someone and they don't even know you exist when you're a teenager. There's that. I also, the thought that popped into my mind is men who are obsessed with women. And I mean, there's women, I don't want to make blanket statements here, but, and I'm going to do anyway. Would I be incorrect in saying it's men who are more obsessed than women who are obsessed, as in the opposite sex? May I say to you, Could it be just in its entirety around that basal need to have sex, as in a man needs to have sex to procreate? And, basically, I'm going to say fuck. Basically, to, pass on his genetic seed. I don't know what I'm saying. I would say to you that the thought that came into mind when I was thinking of obsession and men is, for me, let's just get straight into it. I have big breasts. I'll get straight into it. I'm fucking over it. I have double D breasts, okay? I've always had big boobs. Well, not always. I think from the age of 16, I had pretty big breasts, big boobs. And when I say to you that I've never really been comfortable with my own feminine, this is weird. Now I'm just talking about my own shit here. I struggle with my own femininity in the sense of I am very comfortable being a woman. I am a girly girl in a way. I actually don't mind being more masculine, to be honest, as well. I would say to you that, what am I trying to get at? I have never been comfortable probably with my body and as the female form. Yeah, probably. I know that for someone who is not unattractive and has big breasts, that I know personally where from a young age, once I had boobs, that men just stared at me. And I also, it's not till later in life when I realised the power as a female that I had in that. As a teenager, you have no idea, to be honest, the power that you have in your female body and your breasts and your sexuality and your vagina and all that. And all of it, to be honest. You don't really know until you're a lot older what that means. And I also would say to you, like I said, someone who is comfortable with, at times, with the masculine side of the feminine side. So, if I was to say as a woman, being girly and wearing makeup and showing your breasts and wearing tight clothing and not being provocative, but, being comfortable in your female traits, if I was to say to that. And that's a lot. There's a lot I could go to there. I also would say to you that it is a dance where I do also, I don't know, lean on my more masculine traits. So, I don't know, it's one of those things where, as someone who, and I have said this I haven't actually talked about this ever, that I have in the past had relationships with females that I have been in an actual one-on-one relationship with a female, that I'm attracted to females. Would I say I'm bisexual? I don't know. I've said at one point that I am. Would I say to you that I am, for me, it's not, I hate labelling shit. I've always hated labelling shit. If you were to label me as something, you probably would label me as bisexual. I don't want to label myself as that because it's pathetic, in my opinion. You are who you are, and you feel how you feel, and you want what you want, is what I'm trying to say. But what I'm trying to say to you when I'm talking about the masculine side, where sexually, about being in control, about, I know for myself, if I put on certain clothes or wear certain perfume, I exude a certain masculine side of myself. more than the feminine side. And I like that. I've kind of got off track about obsession. But there's that. When we're talking about obsession, and we can easily go down the route for men and obsession with women and sex. That's a whole topic for discussion for a whole entire podcast, in my opinion. But for me, it's just, I really want to talk about and align this with obsession, and I want to talk about mental health. And I want to align it with the fact that I acknowledge that in the month of May, it is mental health month, as in the month of May is highlighted for mental health. And I really, really am starting to think more and more that the things that I'm aligning to in reference to self-development, all very helpful, all very enlightening, all very thought-producing, but really at their crux are self-obsession, of being absorbed in your own want for something. Now, is that good? Is that good? Because I'm finding, and I could be completely off the mark here, but I'm finding that a lot of these topics that I'm talking about when I'm talking about self-development will use, and I could be wrong, use mindfulness, use gratefulness, use being humble to counteract the fact that really you're just being self-absorbed and self-obsessed. And is this okay? Is it okay? Because this is, for me, when I think about obsession, this is not dangerous, because dangerous sounds catchphrasey. Is this a path that we really need to be going down? Because can we just sit in our own shit and just maybe think about things but not, I don't know, you know what I mean? What am I trying to say? I'm trying to be articulate, but it's not coming out the way I want it, to be honest. Do we need to just let be what be? Do we need to challenge but be mindful that, call it what it is? I mean, I'm not a psychologist, okay? I wish I was I actually don't, actually. That's another subject for another day. I wish I had a greater understanding around this, because I'm thinking about ego, and I'm thinking about pride, and I'm thinking about obsession. Is obsession, when we talk about self-development, just self-obsession? Masking the fact that we're just so uncomfortable with reality that we're just deviating our own thought process to try and placate ourselves, to calm ourselves, in the vein of bettering ourselves, in the vein of thinking that we're actually doing more to be a better person, but we're actually not. I don't know. I don't know. I probably would love, if I had a friend who was a psychologist, which would be very interesting. If I had a friend who was a psychologist, I'd love to broach this subject with them, because they probably would have a greater understanding or have their own more in-depth thought processes around this. But honestly, the more I think about it, can we not just sit in our own bullshit and just let be what be, and not try and pretend that we're going down a path of enlightenment to be a better person when we were only just distracting ourselves from the truth? Am I off mark here? I don't know. I really would love anyone who listens to my podcast, and if you're a psychologist, most definitely, I'd love your feedback on what I have to say and what my opinion is on this. Maybe I should read it. I wish I knew a psychologist. I don't know one. I mean, I do know psychologists, but not ones that are probably willing to go on my podcast and just give their free thinking analysis on the thought that I'm actually having right now. I don't know if they would really want to go there. They might. That's probably an interesting concept to ponder. Would there be a psychologist who's willing to just really tell the truth? I don't know. I mean, not that they're not telling the truth when they're, analysing and assisting people with, the shit that's going on in their lives. But are there people who are just willing just to lay it out and be truthful? Yeah. I think of Jordan B. Peterson. That's another person I'd need to think about a bit more, because I'd like to say, and I know he said this, and I'm not saying he's not, but truth, and like straight away I know, and again, I could be completely off the mark here, but where he recently went through, a while ago now, where issues with benzodiazepine addiction and what that looked like and what he had to get through and where he's come out on the other side. And I mean, look, I haven't gone deep balls into Jordan B. Peterson and all that part of his life. And really, he doesn't need to tell us either. That's the other thing. But I'd say to you, from my own personal experience with benzodiazepine, like with Valium addiction, that it was a mask. It was a way to, and I convinced myself it was not just that, but more, it helped me and it calmed me and it gave me energy and made me feel good. And it basically numbed me. It numbed me from the pain of life, basically. And I was happy for a period of time to be like that. Looking back, it was dangerous. It is something that I'm after some of the shit that happened, very proud of myself that I realised it was an issue and did the steps that I needed many years ago to get off a very addictive medication. I don't even feel the need to have the medication, which is quite strange, because I probably know that, I could honestly say if I took a Valium, I wouldn't stop. I probably would not stop and I'd probably kill myself, which sounds very extreme, but I couldn't do it. So, there's that. I've really digressed now. There's sexual obsession, there's mental obsession, and there's just obsession in general. But for me, I really wanted to touch on that in regards to obsession around mental health and around self-development. Because are we being hoodwinked? I'm going to challenge anyone who listens to this podcast. Are we being hoodwinked by these people? On one hand, I want to believe in my heart of hearts that their nature is good and for the good of themselves and for everyone. I don't know the part of me that goes, but are they? Are they not aware? Or maybe they are and they don't want to talk about, they don't want to talk about it. That they're truly just self-obsessed with their own shit. And they're trying to bring us all along for the ride to, I don't know, alleviate any sense of like, what am I trying to get at? Any sense of entitlement. Do you know what I mean? I don't know if I'm wrong here, but the more and more I think about these things, the more and more I feel like we're just being swept. Do you know what I mean? We're swept into these ideals. And I really challenge anyone who's got half a fucking brain to really challenge it, to think about it. Because I am a kind of person, I'm not just going to like, if you told me the sky was blue, yes, I know it's fucking whatever. There's a whole thing about that. If you tell me something, okay, in regards to anything around mental health, self-development, anything neural, I could go, I don't know, how far do I go? But I'm not just going to go, yeah, you're right, and just go, yeah, and accept it. I'm going to think about it. I'm going to ponder it. I'm going to challenge it. And I would challenge anyone who listens to the podcast, let me know what you think about these subjects. Am I totally askew in my ideals? Am I biased because of my own, I know, self-journey and my own thought processes and how I view the world? Or do I have something that is more accurate and we haven't really talked about or haven't as a society discussed? Or, yeah, I'd love to know your thoughts. So I might stop there because I'm now losing track of my own thoughts. So, obsession. What do you think? Are you obsessed? Let me know. Oh, I don't know why I'm pausing for. And that's the end. Goodbye. No. Anyway, thank you to those who do listen to my podcast. I'm actually doing my best to try and promote more on Instagram, which is the social platform I use for the Tequila Hour. So I'm doing my best, and I know I can do more to try and get my podcast out there. And I know on reflection that I really think I would benefit from having, a one-on-one discussion with someone on my podcast. So I am really not at a loss, but more thinking who is the type of person I want to have as my first guest, because for me that will set a intention that I want to have moving forward. So I'm probably hesitant to have someone because I don't know really what my intention truly is moving forward, because I'll be honest with you straight up that there are ideas that I have for a podcast, like today, Obsession, and I write them down on a whiteboard that I have in the forge. And in the forge, I have 2 whiteboards that I just, if the thought synopsis take me, I'll just write down a whole lot of shit on these boards, right, as ideas that I want to discuss. And then I will get to Sunday, like today, and I just will quickly do a quick research and I just spill my guts. I, at times, will research things more about particular subjects than others, but I am comfortable in saying to you, I freeball it. I'm freeballing, mate. So for me to then include someone who is just, cool with freeballing with me, I really want to make sure I have the right person is what I'm trying to get at. So there's that. So I want to acknowledge the people who do continually download my podcast. I really do thank you for doing that. My podcast, like I've mentioned, does mean a lot to me. It is my passion. It is my voice. It is something that I will continue to, develop and grow and create the complete version of a podcast that I want. Mate, you as a listener probably don't have an idea, but I will try and explain it to you. If I was to say to you, it's like in my, I don't know, this could be the same for anyone who has a passion, but if I was to say to you right now, as a passion, a burning sun globe in my soul, burning bright for all the things that I want to create and develop and include and put out into the universe as part of this podcast, I will do. It's my passion. It's my life's work, I think. I'm going to call it. I'm calling it right now. It's my life's work. It is my life's work. Wholeheartedly, this podcast is my life's work. Take it in. Take it in. It is my life's work. And I will do my very best to make the best podcast that I can. So I really want to acknowledge the people who do download my podcast. I'm very thankful for that. If you want to follow me, you can. You can follow me by listening to my podcast and downloading via Buzzsprout, which I always have a hyperlink in my description box. Spotify and Apple Podcasts are two platforms that I upload to that stream my podcast. Very grateful for. Very grateful if you would listen via any of those platforms. Spotify is actually my favorite platform. I love Spotify. So if you do download from Spotify, you can leave me a review. I'd appreciate if you can give me something. Or even you can contact me if there's a particular subject or anything you would like some feedback or provide feedback to me on. I would actually love that. You can contact me anytime via info@thetequilahour.com.au. And like I mentioned, my two platforms that I primarily use to promote my podcast would be Instagram, because it's a platform that I enjoy using. So I have the Tequila Hour, which is an Instagram handle, and my own personal one, which is the_1_Amanda as well. So thank you to those who do listen. Thank you for spending some time with me today. And yeah, if you have something you'd like me to talk about, tell me. Otherwise, I will catch you on the next one. See ya. Bye. Bye, 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 bye.
Obsessed. Are you obsessed?
Take it away, feeling too good to me. Chilling all day, all in your space is where I wanna be. Here in this room, what did you do? I just can't get enough. Too caught up in your love. I've been trying to forget, but you won't let me. Something in my brain wants you. I've been hanging by myself, asking for help, but nothing seems to work on you. Yeah, you always make me feel like home. Yeah, you never leave my thoughts alone. Yeah, you're the reason I'm going out my mind. I just can't stop thinking about you. All that I crave when you're away, nights are sleepless. Do we need space? Yeah, maybe a break. Boy, you're my weakness. Give and we take, the love that we make, it's my favorite drug. Too caught up in your love. I've been trying to forget, but you won't let me. Something in my brain wants you. I've been hanging by myself, asking for help, but nothing seems to work on you. Yeah, you always make me feel like home. Yeah, you never leave my thoughts alone. Yeah, you're the reason I'm going out my mind. I just can't stop thinking about you. You got me feeling some type of way. You make me wanna stay in all day. You're the reason I can't get out my head. I just can't stop thinking about you. I just can't stop thinking about you. I just can't stop thinking about you. I just can't stop thinking about you.